Welcome to lesson 9 of this React testing video series, and in this video we're going to create a component that would render a list of our books, and we're also going to test it. And we take our books from local storage, we store it in there with our data manager component. To do that, let's start by creating books list .jsx. In here we would import React from React with capital R from React. Would have class books list extends React component. Okay, and let's export that as a default export. In here we have a render method that returns UL element. In here we would have render, okay, let's call it list books, that would go through our books and render it. What we're going to do here is, let's first of all declare this method, list books, and this component books list is going to accept the prop books, and we're going to use that prop, we're going to map over it and return an li element. Okay, return li. In here we would have book name. Okay, what we need also is a unique key, because elements in an array need a unique key in React. For this purposes, I use index. It's not a very good idea. Usually you would use something more because key might change when you delete or add elements to array, and that's not good. For that purposes, if you grab data from database, you would probably use ID or something like this. But in here, this is basically an application just to show you some ways of testing stuff. It's not a real application, and I didn't want to bother with it. What you can do is use maybe some sort of ID generator, unique ID. I think there's a package UUID, and when you push books, when you add books, you can also add here some unique ID, or you could do maybe put a Unix time in here. What the point is, it should be unique if you want to refactor that, but I don't really see the point in this application. Okay, let's call it our key. We will call it book and index. This is also going to be useful for our data test ID, because we're going to call it because we're going to grab it in our test by data test ID, and also key. Okay, so we have this list books, and we're accepting this props books. Usually you would use React prop types, or maybe some sort of type checking with TypeScript or Flow. In this video series, again, because it's not a real application, I'm not using any of that, but it's strongly advised if you would use, if you're not using it yet, which I would actually assume that you are using prop types. I've never seen anyone who wasn't using prop types. Okay. Now we have this class books list. Let's write a test for it. Books list test JSX. Let's copy some of the stuff. What we're going to need here, we're going to need React, we're going to need render. So let's write our simple test. Books list renders a list of books. How we're going to check that? First of all, we're going to need data manager to make sure that there are books to render. So let's quickly create data manager. New data manager. And let's use our add API, which only needs to add a book. So we make book 1 and we make book 2. Let's also render that component. So render books list, and we're going to need pass here a prop, and that prop would be data manager get books, and that get books is, it returns us local storage get item books. In case that local storage returns us null, we have this or, and it would return as empty array. So either case, there should be no errors. So that's our test, and it should hopefully pass now. It should hopefully pass now without any error. So let's see if it's working. So we have books list test JSX passing, and let's write a failing test just to make sure that it actually everything's working as we expect. So how would we write our first failing test? We know that we have data test ID by key, so our first item would be book 0. So we can do component get by test ID book 0. Check text content property on it that would reveal us, well, content of this component, of this element, and we would use just method to be, and let's write book, although we know it should be book 1, and that's what I want to see this expect received. Okay, we expected and received book 1, so we received what we needed to receive, so that's all good. And the same way you can do this for book 1, and it's all good. So now we have a test and we have a component, and we can safely take this and put it in index.jsx. Well, not entirely safely. We need to make few things to use it. First of all, we need to import books list. So, and second, not data manager, because it's a property on our class, we would use this data manager get books. Having done that, refresh, and hopefully we would see a list of books. Yes, we do. And do our test pass? No, our test does not pass because our second test is checking for book 1, and it should be for book 2. So here you have it. Let's see if our tests pass, and yes, they do. Okay, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.